Hi everyone, Dr. Nemechek here, and I want to talk about something that's of growing concern to a lot of people, including myself. I don't think enough is being made of it in the public yet, and I want you to be able to get a head start on what to do. And we're talking about, as you can tell by the headline of this research paper, we're talking about microplastics in the food supply. And so what are microplastics? So microplastics are pieces of plastic that through wear and tear, exposure to sunlight, just agitation, things like that, break down, and now they get in the water supply, they get in the food supply, they're in animals that we eat, we breathe them in because there's like plastics and rubbers, things like this from like tires, brakes on automobiles that we breathe in, there's dust all around, so it's all around us. And these things are accumulating rapidly. It's getting worse rapidly. And there is going to be a major problem from this, I guarantee you. And it doesn't take much, I believe, to maybe change the outcome for yourself. Things that you can do today. All right? So I want to kind of go through this. It's a little longer talk, but I want to go through this bit by bit so you have an idea like what the scope of the problem is, and maybe a few at the end. I'll give you a few pointers on what we're going to do. Now, what I'm drawing on are on 3 papers. I got this paper, I got this paper, and then this paper is really good. And I'll have references for these in the discussion section below. All right? And so first is, we're finding, if you look at these 3 columns, here is liver, here's kidney, here's brain. And what you're seeing is people are a little surprised by this because the kidney and liver aren't, in essence, filtering organs, and they're designed to get rid of impurities, but actually the brain has a much higher concentration of microplastics than the kidney or liver. Okay. The other thing that's very concerning is, if you look, each of these is 2016, 2024, 2016, 2024. There is a significant increase in the amount, not so much here, but there is here, of plastics that they're in these samples that they have over an 8-year period. So this problem is increasing. There are multiple types of plastics out there. Okay. And so what's the important type? Or what's the, what's the major type that's getting in our bloodstream? It's these gold bars here. That's polyethylene. That, my friends, is a water bottle. That's your, these sport drinks and energy drinks that are in these plastic bottles. That's what they're put in. And we're going to talk about that because that's where people are probably getting the most in their diets. All right? Now, your brain has as much plastic in it. The average American healthy brain, functional brain, has as much plastic in it as one plastic sandwich bag. Remember when you were a kid, your mom put a little peanut butter jelly sandwich in that little plastic bag? You've got that much plastic in your brain today, more than likely. Okay? Now I want to show you something. Look down here in the bottom first. These diamonds are different research centers where they have brain specimens of normal brains. So what's a normal brain mean? It means somebody was automobile accident, car wreck, gunshot. They died of non-brain things. Okay, and they're looking at the microplastics going back here 2000, some of the late 1990s, and you see going along. And then now this is a different center in New Mexico. They have more samples. So here's their mean. So you can see it's getting higher, and then it's even getting higher. So the point of this really is, look how fast this is growing of a problem. This is a big deal. Now, dementia. So these are brains where you have a brain problem. Now, notice the scale here with normal brains. None of them, they have a couple up here by 10,000, but the top end of the scale is at 10,000. Dementia brains start at 10,000 and go up to 50,000 times the concentration. Okay? So much more plastic in a dementia bag, in a dementia brain. Does that mean it's causing it? No. but it doesn't mean it's not causing it. All right? And that's kind of part of my point here. And so now, these are tissue samples of a brain with a regular microscope, a regular like high school microscope. You see these little sparkles in here, okay? And they blow them up like this. That's plastic in the brain. You and I have that stuff in our brains, okay? And so, I don't know about you, that worries me a lot. That worries me a lot. So the next question is, where's it coming from? Are we eating it or are we breathing it in? And so these studies, and mainly just look at this part over here. And so we got children, so male children, adults, female children, adults, and this is daily. Here's consumed versus inhaled. So basically these numbers, they're pretty close. So it looks like it's kind of 50-50. Okay? Now the inhaled ones, when you breathe them in, some of them are so small they'll go right through the tissue into your bloodstream. And the other ones that are trapped, say, in your mucus lining, the mucus travels up and is pushed down into the intestinal tract. You don't even know it's happening, but then they'll be absorbed in the intestinal tract. Okay? So it's about a 50-50 consumed inhaled picture. Now here's just a little snapshot of some things. And in these references I have for you, they have big tables of all sorts of different items, food items and things like that. And you can look through and get a feel for, where these plastics are coming from. And so here's zero. Like honey has almost none. Salt has almost none. Alcohol, very little. There's some exceptions there. Tap water. Okay, we'll get back to that in a minute. Here, like bottled water. Hey, a lot more here than tap water for sure. Okay, and seafood, and we'll talk about that, and then air. You say, well, air's a lot more. I thought you said it was equal. Well, this is just individual items. You start adding these up through the day, and it starts approximating what you're getting from the air. Okay, and so you see you have a similar readout here for females, about the same. All right. This is probably the simplest thing you can do to dramatically reduce your microplastics intake, is get rid of these plastic bottles, okay? And if you just look at, here's from one of the studies, the amount for people who, this is total microplastic ingestion, okay, for people between if they have tap water or bottled water. Okay? There's the annual amount. The big thing is the water. And not the water, it's the source of the water. Is it coming out of that plastic? Or is it coming out of the tap? Now, I just think I go to the market, I go to Costco or places, people, just stacks and stacks and stacks of either sport drinks, sodas, bottled water, all in these plastic bottles. People, we are just pouring tons of this stuff in our body, and it's concentrating in our organs and in our brains. Okay? It's a big, big deal. And so we just got to stop doing that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Here is the air. And so indoor or outdoor. Now, this paper's conclusion was indoor air is much worse than outdoor air. Now, this was a review of a whole bunch of different papers. So these are all research papers with these different concentrations. So this is the number of samples, and here's the concentration in the air, and the average came down. They had their measurement, I won't get into the science terms, but it was 194 of these microparticles. And so here's indoor air. And you're like, wow, it's a lot more indoor than in the outdoor. But if you look in the indoor data, so here, indoor data, these are 1 to 16, 4 to, these are all like under 20. Most are under 10, except for this one ranges from 500 to 2,500. These samples coming out of this city in China. So there's something wrong here. If you throw that number out and just use all these others, the indoor air is clearly safer than the outdoor air. Okay? And so that's my take on this. I think this was a flaw in this paper. They should have noted that. Now, another thing you can see here is this. They're outdoor. They're comparing urban and rural. They went through that. And in another analysis, it's roughly the same, city or in the country. Okay? And so you would think, well, country's fresh air and all that kind of stuff. It's actually about the same. So, but indoor air is clearly, in my estimation, far less microplastics that you're inhaling than in the outdoor air. So what can we do? Okay, tap water. You want to drink tap water? I mean, I basically have this Yeti kind of thing. That's all I ever drink out of. I put my coffee in there. I've got one for my water. If we go out to some taco truck, bring my water. I don't get a water bottle at the taco truck. Okay, and the important thing is metal plumbing. Okay, there's a lot of new homes where your plumbing that's giving you the water is plastic. All right, and so I actually just went and checked my house, and fortunately we have copper lines in our house. There's one little area I got to check, and I may have to punch a hole in the wall to know for sure. And if it's plastic, for at least the water lines that are going into the kitchen, I'm going to make sure they're all copper, and so I'm not getting any plastic there. Showers, bathrooms, elsewhere, I don't care because I'm not drinking that. Okay, tap water from metal plumbing, and that's copper typically. Get rid of these plastic bottles that I talked about. Water, sports, energy drinks. People are like, but I like that stuff. If you like soda, you can get it in a can. You know, most of them, right? And they're starting to sell water in the can, aluminum cans. And so that's all we have here in the office. Now, I don't know about where it's coming from in the factory. That's kind of like, you got to like, do they have plastic piping there? I don't think so in a commercial facility. They're going to be, very industrial and built at a higher standard. So I think you're probably safe with these aluminum cans of water if you want those. Eliminate plastic cooking and drinking utensils. So all those little Tupperware things to store food in, get rid of them. Okay? We don't have any plastic bowls, any plastic cups. We don't use any of that stuff. We don't use any plastic spatulas. All that stuff's gone. Plastic chopping boards, gotta go. I haven't shown the data. There's some data in mice where the more you use it, actually, the more you use the chopping board, the more it releases with each use. So it just really starts just shedding lots of plastic. So we have just wood chopping boards at my house. And for things like chicken, we have it's like a glass-like chopping board that I'll use for potentially infectious stuff, so I run it through the dishwasher. Okay, it's not great for the knife, but I just keep resharpening the knife, but that's what we do. Dishwasher pods, the little plastic thing, and I haven't shown you the data here, that stays on your dishes. Like the fork you put in your mouth, or the glass you're drinking out of. Get rid of the dishwasher pods. All right? Seafood in particular. But really it was interesting, some of the studies looking at like filter feed or apex feeders, so like tunas, they didn't really seem to concentrate a whole lot of microplastics in them. Okay? But what did are the filtering. So the shellfish, mussels, clams, oysters in particular, really high levels of microplastics. Now, most people I know don't eat those very often. So if you have them once a year, I don't know if that makes a difference. For me, I can live without them. Okay? So I'm not going to do it. Chewing gum is the only food where they purposely put the plastic in the gum. Tons of plastics in chewing gum. Get rid of it. And then like powderized, aerosolized cosmetics. I guess, people will brush on some little powder material on there. They have lots of plastics in them. And then PCP is personalized care products, so deodorants and sprays and other things you might use have microplastics in them. So somehow maybe limit the use of those, hold your breath while you got that stuff on, while you're applying that. I don't know how you go about it, but just so you know, that's another source. And then how do we get rid of the inhaled plastics? It's pretty hard. The N95 masks that we used during COVID, they're good at blocking very, 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 very small particles. But you can't reuse them a lot. If you do, they start releasing plastics. They're safe for the first use. They're really designed for one use only. But I understand it kind of gets expensive, but in terms of the plastic avoidance, you don't want to be reusing those masks. And then I would just say, efficient office home ventilation systems. And but other than that, we don't have any good data yet on the inhaling the plastics. But you can go a long way with minimal hassle on the top of this list, especially just drink tap water. No more bottled water, okay? These plastic bottles. That is a huge daily intake for many, many, many people, okay? And then, I do all the cooking, so I just switched out some of the chopping boards and, cooking utensils and the storage things, all the Tupperware stuff. I just did a switch out of all that. Done. Now I don't have any plastic in the kitchen. It's easy. So I hope you found this helpful. I personally am really, really concerned about it. I talk a lot about inflammation and leaky gut. The data is accumulating for that microplastics are potentially a significant source of leaky gut and inflammation that's causing cumulative brain injury and all these other things I talk about. And so I take the position, I'd rather start trying to do something about it now instead of wait 5 or 10 years from now and think, crap, I should have done it when I thought about it, And so, and we don't, we aren't going to be able to get rid of all these, but we may not have to get rid of all of this stuff. You may just need to, if you keep the threshold below a certain level, it might not bother you, or it might have minimal effects on you, okay? Versus having an entire plastic sandwich bag in your brain, okay? So I hope this is helpful, and if you've got some mental energy, just kind of chip through this last slide here, and you can slowly make a big difference with just a few little things, all right? Okay, that's all for now. Everybody, remember, hit subscribe to get notification of my other videos, and everybody have a great day. Bye.